Hello, and welcome to A Dash of Salt with AJ. I'm your host, Ahsoka Jackson, blogger, podcaster, poet, and proofreader. Welcome to part 3 of my reaction to the first episode of Attack on Titan's final season. I know there were some concerns about censorship even before the season premiered, and whether they'd be cutting things a lot because of the television broadcast. It's early days yet, so it remains to be seen how that goes overall. But I can say, in regards to the specific example someone asked about, a Titan with an injured eye, that actually matched the manga. I plan to thoroughly read the manga chapters that correspond to each new episode, and about the only difference was that they maybe showed slightly more damage around the perimeter of the wound, but it really was almost the same. It's really just a classic thing from the last 3 seasons. There's this concept that Titans have a really high temperature, and also that their blood actually evaporates pretty quickly when exposed to air. And their wounds tend to release a lot of steam or vapor, vaporized blood, during the healing process. This is also seen with the Titan shifters in human form as well. We've seen steam coming from Aaron's wounds when he was in human form. Oh, and I mentioned reading the manga chapters. It turns out that Colt actually had a specific line where he mentioned that what Gabby had done, removing her uniform to hide her identity as a soldier the way she did, was indeed a violation of international law. So yeah, it seems I was correct there. I mentioned it in the previous part. So another ending note. People sometimes find it humorous when you say his name as Armin rather than Armin, which actually had me puzzled a bit. So I looked up the name a while ago to check, and from what I recall, the name is both Persian and German, and can be pronounced both Armin and Armin. The Japanese pronunciation of the show sometimes feels a little bit in between, but I'd say it leans more towards the E side, because that's how the letter I tends to be pronounced in the language. What I found out is that folks react that way because of this Attack on Titan parody series, where other characters tend to say his name with an exaggerated E sound, so that explains it. I've been like, why is that so funny? That sort of is how his name is pronounced, just not so emphasized. So anyways, I kind of tend to shift between the two. I use both Armin and Armin. So now that I've covered those things, I definitely have to take some time to discuss the main topic for this part, the new music, especially that opening song. It's something that really grows on you. The more I listen, the more I enjoy it. It's honestly freaking addictive for me. And especially seeing and hearing some of the lyrics. Wow. I really look forward to hopefully seeing a full version that's properly translated sometime soon. In particular, people are asking a lot about the chorus and whether the lyrics are German, Latin, or Spanish. I think German seems most likely because that would be typical of Attack on Titan, but the Spanish lyrics that have been suggested do match up well with what I'm hearing when I listen to the song. In any case, my favorite part right now would have to be when the lead singer whispers, "This is my last war." People have been saying ahead of time that the title of the song would be either My War or My Last War, and the latter title especially was so haunting for me, and I love that line in the song. It really is very poignant and chilling, and drives home how we're in the end game here. This is it. The story is drawing to a close. There's also the part where it says, "You are the real enemy." That topic has actually been a running theme for the entire series. We keep seeing characters shift positions and question their relationships to other individuals and other factions. That question is also asked in the second opening theme, Juno Tsubasa, or Wings of Freedom, as well as other music from the series. It's like what I pointed out with Gabby, and how, if anything, she and Team Paradis should be working together somehow, not fighting each other. Are you friend or foe? Are you a devil or an angel? Those questions have been asked, and I wonder if the line about the real enemy actually means war itself rather than a specific character. Though it's probably meant to have multiple meanings, because I already know multiple ways it might accurately apply. Also, already knowing about certain stuff that takes place, that just gives it a whole other dimension of meaning for me when it comes to all the lyrics for this opening and the ending, which is a good segue into the question of the opening visuals. I know they were kind of abstract and really just showed these vague images of war and destruction, And just like with the song, it doesn't match the feel of previous season openings, but it's actually really, really clever. Even though it's frustrating, I also do appreciate how they're doing such a good job of avoiding spoilers and just keeping their cards close to their chest. They're not even showing us what our main cast looks like in final form, which is actually really fun. It seems like the visual Team Paradis cameo that we had in the first episode itself actually escaped some folks' initial notice because of that. Like they didn't recognize who they were seeing on screen. What's more, I actually got very emotional watching that opening because even though it seems super vague, I think the flashes of imagery they did show were actually hints at certain events I'm aware of later on. And I think as the season progresses, that opening is going to hit folks totally different. And they're going to gain a whole new appreciation for it and also for the style of the music. Why they went for this quiet, creepy, haunting, ominous feel rather than making another jam. Trust me, you're not going to feel much like jamming when you're blankly staring at your screen in horror and trying not to cry. That same thing definitely applies to the closing song, by the way. The lyrics for that felt even more tragic than those of the opening, and both lyrics and visuals there are actually highly meaningful in a way that will become clear as the season progresses. That's all I can really say about it. Oh, there was that last visual in the opening sequence where they show what look like statues of the Nine Titans, but it could actually be like hardened versions of the Titans themselves. That's how the walls were made, remember? And we've seen Eren use that ability now as well. Anyways, it's hard to tell, and this is why I want lyrics, but during that shot, it sounds like the chorus in the background is saying monster over and over again. Which is fitting, especially since that's how the Marleyans view Eldians, and even how kids like Gabby view the Eldians of Paradis. People also have some interesting interpretations of what the visuals mean. Some folks think it's like the attack Titan is being pursued by the other Titans, and they feel like the song itself is warning Eren to run away and back down. But to me, the way I interpreted it was more like they were all charging or surging forward, and that the attack Titan was taking the lead, which definitely fits Eren himself, and also what we know of the attack Titan separately. That it's the one who's always pushing forward to fight for freedom, or some concept of it, throughout the generations, whomever is in possession of it. Actually, that's the question I raised in my episodes about the Season 4 trailer. Do you possess Titans, or do they possess you? That question of influence was subtly raised during Season 3, and actually even before then. There's a particular ending thing that has visuals related to this much earlier in the show. And I'm also wondering if that dynamic varies depending on who or which exact Titan it is. For example, does the Colossal or Cart Titan affect its inheritor to the same degree as the Attack Titan? And this also goes back to that question of who and what the original Titans were, and how much individual identity the originals and also the successors retain after death. Anyways, I think that about does it now. I'm really looking forward to episode 2, especially because I suddenly realized that Mappa may insert another super subtle cameo. And I actually didn't think about that until now, but that itself is actually a very classic Attack on Titan thing that they've been doing. Like in the very early episodes of Season 1, you can actually see little glimpses of Reiner's crew living as civilians before we meet them properly as cadets. I'm not going to hype up that possibility too much now, though. I don't know if it's even going to happen yet, and the focus definitely needs to be on meeting our new crew here. I've never seen these sections of the story before, so it's going to be really neat finally getting to see what these new characters' personalities are like, and also to hear their human voices for the first time. And we see poor Reiner looking very unhappy while everyone else celebrates, but at least it looks like he's recovered okay. Well, I hope you had a great time with me today. My current plan is to resume work on the trailer episodes while I'm waiting for the next episode of the show to release. That'll automatically take priority, of course, so it'll take a while to get everything done. Anyways, if you're enjoying the podcast, please don't forget to subscribe and leave a like, share, or review on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, social media, or whichever platform you use to listen. I especially look forward to hearing your comments, theories, and questions related to Attack on Titan. Be blessed and stay salty.